Welcome to the show, everyone. It is the Horror Syndicate Discourse. It is Thursday. Hang out with us. We are doing the top 25 horror movies of the 70s, as you can tell, because it's up on the screen. With us tonight is the usual crew, the usual bandits, I guess. We've got the mayor of Matul, Jared Letourneau, with us tonight. I tried to think of something clever, but I couldn't. I was going to type in the Rayzor Chainsaw Massacre, but it was way too long. It wouldn't show up on the screen, so I was like, whatever. Jared, how are we doing tonight?
Pretty good, pretty good. Kind of excited for this one.
Yeah, I am too. This list turned out pretty damn good, in my opinion. Very excited to see, especially to see what everybody else thinks. And if you're here, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you think of our placement of these movies. We want to hear what you think belongs where. What's your number one from the 70s? That's always a good question. I think a lot of people expect a certain movie, a certain satanic panic movie to be number one, but we'll see. Seth, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing pretty well.
Here we go. A little delay. And we got Nathan Thomas Milliner, who apparently he is produced by Deborah Hill.
I was. Yeah.
Well, apparently, yeah. I think you are, actually. I think it's true.
Yep, that was my mom.
Yeah, I think that shirt speaks the truth. No, you used to tell me that Wes Craven was your dad and John Carpenter was your mom.
No, the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's your very close auntie.
Yeah.
All right, we do have some Sean Lombardo's dropping his full list on us already.
Right.
We'll throw that out there. So I'll leave it up on the screen for a second while I take a bite of garlic cheese bread. I'm going to the next one. House of Dark Shadows. What? I don't know that one.
It's the Dark Shadows movie.
Is it a Dark Shadows movie? That's why. Okay.
Yeah.
And then number one is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Picnic at Hanging Rock. I've never heard of that either.
It's an Australian film. I almost had that on my list.
Your list has about 8 or 9 things I want to check out on it. So I got to catch up.
And
It's that whole thing, where I'm like, is that horror or not?
Yeah.
You know how I am.
And he had a Hitchcock film. He had Frenzy on there too.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, guys. Here's a delivery mishap tonight. So anyway, we've got Kathy's here. Hello, hello. Seth, your shirt is heart, heart, heart. What's up?
Heart.
Yeah, 70s. Well, I said last time when we did the 80s had quantity. The 70s had quality. There's some quality movies in the 80s, but the 70s definitely had the quality, in my opinion. 70s is an era I'm very unfamiliar with. Okay. Well, hang out with us and you'll learn there's some damn good movies from the 70s. We're going to start off as we do with the honorable mentions, which I'm going to pull up on my phone because, like I said, I had a delivery mishap, and basically I ordered something at 5:30 and it didn't get here till right before the show started. Pretty awesome. All right. So, is there anything you guys want to say before we start the 70s list?
Let's get into it.
Want to say how good looking I am today, maybe, or
Let's get into it.
let's go. So, honorable mention. So again, we compiled the list. Each of us did 35 movies and ranked them 35 to 1. And Nate took all 4 lists and smushed them together, and we came out with a top 25. And then he did the top 10 honorable mentions, which essentially are like, I'm guessing the way you did it, Nate, would be 35 through 26. So the number 10 honorable mention, and I can't believe I left this off my list. And this is the bad thing. When you see the final list, you see you're like, I forgot to put that on my list. When a Stranger Calls is number 10 on our honorable mentions list. It's a really good movie. And it has a sequel that's not as good.
Yeah, I mean that opening one of the best horror openings
Yeah.
ever.
And it's a good long opening too.
Yeah.
Jaws, I forgot about that. I've never seen that. Oh man, fix that. Number 9 is The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Jared.
Dario Argento.
Yes.
That was the
Good
first
Italian
giallo
horror.
I probably saw, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Either that or Cat of Nine Tails, one or the other.
Oh man, that's a good one. And Jared and I know Nate's seen a bunch of giallos, and he's partial to a couple, but Jared and I are huge Italian fans. Number 8 is Trilogy of Terror. I've not seen that one in a long time. I don't remember it at all. So
Yeah, I showed my wife and my daughter that a couple months ago. I think it's free on something streaming, and it's a fun, Karen Black driven. She's in all of the stories. It's a great anthology. The little Zuni warrior guy is like a kind of,
that's the one I remember the most.
Yeah, big pop culture figure, but all the stories are really good and fun on that one.
To revisit that. I think Kino Larver released a Blu-ray of it not long ago. Number 7 is Return of the Evil Dead, and that is a Tombs of the Blind Dead movie, Spanish horror film. Jared and I both like that. It's better than number 5 on this list. Number 6 is Torso, another Italian horror movie. Check it out. It's good. Number 5 is Tombs of the Blind Dead, and that's a Spanish movie. It's a good movie. You can get past the poor dubbing. Number 4 is another Italian horror, Don't Torture a Duckling. It's Lucio Fulci's best giallo, his best attempt at giallo with a great ending, and Barbara Boucher. Number 3 is The Wicker Man on our honorable mentions list, and after my second ever viewing, I feel like an ass because it probably should be in the top 25.
Yeah, it's number 10 on my list, and it's just such a great film.
Yeah, I think, and I stated in my Facebook post about it, that I think seeing, and I'm not saying Midsummer is like The Wicker Man or anything like that, but seeing movies like that have kind of changed my perspective on a movie like that. So I want to see one of Jared's favorites from 2016, which is The Neon Demon again, because maybe my perspective on that will change as well. Number 2 on the honorable mentions list is Martin, the George Romero movie. And number 1 is Tales from the Crypt. So that's the honorable mentions list.
My favorite anthology film.
Is it really?
Horror film, yeah.
Yeah.
Tales from the Crypt was like the 72 film. Inspired a lot of some of the things I did. 2 of my films were probably inspired by some of the short stories in that, or they were in my head when I was composing them. I love that. It's just got some great stories. At least 3 or 4 of those are 3 or 4 of the best short horror stories I've seen on film.
That's one that's on my list of must-sees now because of the other lists I've seen. I've never seen it. I've heard of it, but I've never actually seen it, so I'm looking forward to watching that. And that's probably another reason it's not on the top 25. Well, obviously, because if I had put it at 25, it'd probably be 25. It's on Shudder, by the way. The Wicker Man is on Shudder, so you can watch. That's where I watched it yesterday. So, moving on, we will get into our top 25. Let me move my garlic cheese bread out of the way. Sorry, so unprofessional. Let's see. Oh yeah, have you guys seen Amusement Park yet? Yeah. I watched it the day it came out. Nate, I think you really enjoyed it. Jared, how'd you feel about it? We'll just talk about it real fast.
I enjoyed it. Once I knew what it was like going into it. I mean, it's not a horror movie by any means, but it definitely showcases the real horrors of being elderly in the United States.
In the 70s.
In
Yeah.
the 70s,
I think even today, I like my summation of it was it's like the last part of Mother, of because it's just surreal what the world's like. I just love that he used the amusement park as a representation of the world, and I don't know. It's very abstract and absurdist art film. It's like I fucking loved it. I was just like that. This is I don't know. I just
I
really.
think you said it was Romero at his best, or something like that, or this
I
is,
think it was
this is
my-
pure Romero, is what you
I
said.
think it was. Yeah, I mean, because
Yeah.
he was always about social commentary,
Right.
and
Oh yeah.
this movie is just. It's not just about elderly. It's just about how people treat each other. It's about. I don't know. It's just. It's just like this. I just love it. I just really did. I just from. I didn't know anything about it. I knew it was a lost film. I didn't read up what it was about. And right from the first moment, they're standing in a line hawking their heirlooms to get into the amusement park. Just kind of like, oh, I know what we're in for here. This isn't real. This isn't reality. This is a nightmare. Satire almost of how the world is. But every scene is making comments on social problems and the way people are treated, especially the elderly. And
A lot of those problems exist still today too.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing different. That's what I think most shocking is like I'm seeing the same behaviors we see today. I mean, there's the way people treat each other, the way people scam each other, the consumerism, and all these things that George was always so good at focusing in on and turning into a genre film. I don't know. I really liked it.
Yeah, it's available on Shudder. It's surprisingly only 53 minutes long, and it's got kind of a it's very fast paced. So check it out if you have Shudder. Don't expect to go in seeing a Romero zombie movie because it's not at all. Not that I expected that. I didn't expect that at all. But yeah, give it a shot. It might be worth watching. It may not be. I know I saw a lot of people saying it should have stayed lost. I thought it was funny. Everybody thinks differently, about whatever. It was. I will say, it was nice seeing something that had been forgotten and lost for almost 50 years. Which is really cool that they were able to get. I guess they had to get some kind of funding to release it, and yeah, pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, they worked with the Romero Foundation to get it released.
Yeah. So, and then it went to the right place too. Shudder is probably the best place to put it because, it's a horror. It's all horror, and Romero's biggest following, no matter what he's ever done, is horror related, because he's his work with horror in general.
Unless those Knight Rider fans are out there.
They are. I know they are. Scott, how you doing, buddy? Let's see. Got a couple comments before we get to the list. I'm going to take a safe guess that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is top 2. Well, we'll see. Stick around as we're going to dive into the top 25. And you know what? Who is that? Was that Sean Sheridan? Hey, make a list and check these movies out and get back to us. We're going to be like doctors. Take 2 of these and call us in the morning. All right, let's dig in.
So they're all overrated.
Yeah. Tell us how bad they are compared to anything from the 80s or whatever. And I do want to see anybody who has a guess of what number 1 is. Please hit it in the comments, and you'll probably be wrong. So coming at number 25 on our list is Deep Red, or as Jared would call it,
Profondo Rosso.
Yes, Dario Argento joins. It's a great movie. I actually prefer this to his most known movie, which is Suspiria. It's a really good movie. Great mystery.
Yeah, I dig this one.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that where he was heading, but before he went total artistic, but that route that still has a little bit of grounded in reality, even though he's still got that great choices of set decoration and lighting and art decoration and just camera angles, the way he moves his camera, how he frames a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really come up loving Argento, but I'm starting to really develop an appreciation for this guy's work. Even if the stories don't grip me, just looking at his work is like looking at just an art gallery.
Yeah.
It's like going into an art museum. It's basically what
You
it
could
feels
take
like.
and you could take any of his movies just about, with the exception of Dracula from 2000 whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That movie's awful. But
Dracula 3D.
you can take pretty much anything pre 19 or before like 1995 maybe, and look at it as a piece of art. I mean, Inferno is absolutely one of my favorite movies, and Suspiria is a great movie, but I prefer Deep Red, and it's Jared's fault. So if you haven't seen Deep Red, check it out. I do believe it's on Shudder.
One of the great, like almost slapstick deaths that's so gruesome at the end. I won't ruin it for everybody, but I watched it. I watched it yesterday again just to kind of refresh my memory. Like, God damn!
That's one of the things I like about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's different. Anyway, coming in number 24, it's a movie I've only seen once, and it was years ago. Duel. So I'll let you guys talk about this one.
I can, but anybody else want to say something?
It wasn't on my list.
Yeah,
It was in my.
I had it on my list.
It's on number 13 on mine. Go ahead, Seth. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Seth. Take it away.
Yeah, it was on my list. I think it's a great movie, a great exercise in suspense, and I really like the sort of like the paranoia of it with what's his name, Weaver, kind of like you hear his thoughts and everything, and you know I love the fact that you don't see the truck driver at all.
Yeah.
And you know that one scene where he's in the restaurant and he's trying to figure out who it is. I thought that was a really well executed scene. I think it's a great movie. Great Richard Matheson, which is also great. So
Yeah, the great Richard Matt.
Yeah.
Like I stumbled upon this movie by accident. I was just flipping channels and it was on cable. And I'm watching it. I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like, I just got really sucked into it because it's one of those type of movies where you're on this journey with this one person. And it's like this immersive type of story. And you're like, where is this going? Like you said, that paranoia. Who is this? Why is this happening? And then, I get to the end. It says directed by Steven Spielberg. And I'm like, what? Like, no wonder this was so good. This is like, I think it's his first feature film. Although it was a TV film. But I guess I don't know if it is a feature, but it's a feature-length film, and it just shows what a talent that guy was. I just love that film. Yeah, Dennis Weaver. I highly recommend Duel to anyone who hasn't seen it.
It's on my list of things to watch. I haven't seen it since probably the 90s. Never went back to it. I don't know why. I have no reason. But yeah, it wasn't on my list. So may rank higher if we ever do this again. Who knows? Coming in at number 23. I was disappointed this made the list because it's not this one. Never mind, wrong one. I was looking at the wrong picture. Anyway, this is fine. This The Hills Have Eyes from 1977. Wes Craven movie. Is this his second feature? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he may have made a TV film in between that
Maybe some
Last
horror in
House.
between.
Yeah, after Last House in between.
I
I think they're 3 years apart.
Hills Have Eyes is just, it's great survival horror film, inspired by the Sonny Bean legend.
Mm.
It's a terrifying little film and pushes buttons. I mean, some of the violence and the crimes committed against the family are pretty horrific. I'm a much bigger fan of Aja's remake. Of course, we've talked about that one. Like I think that's my favorite horror remake. But we wouldn't have that movie without what Wes Craven did on that film.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And you got made Michael Berryman an icon, and I dig it. Not my favorite Wes Craven film, but out of the 70s, my preferred over Last House.
Yeah, me too. I actually really don't like Last House on the Left, and I'll just say because I went in, it went into the movie. It had this reputation, and it was not what I wanted. It's just not what I ever wanted to see. Oh, not a big Craven fan. That's a shame. I
I'm
thought we
out.
could be friends. Yeah. All right. Anything else on last or Jesus? I was going to say Last House on Level. Anything on the hills? They're both great titles, by the way. I love the titles of these movies.
Oh, we talked about titles.
Oh, hell
These
yeah.
titles are two of the best titles ever.
Yeah, I think the next one is my favorite title on the list. And Seth just saw this one, so coming in at number 22 is Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Seth, tell us about this movie. Please.
I don't know how this made the list.
I love this movie.
I don't.
I love it.
It beat Wicker Man.
It did.
Dude, it's a fun movie. It's so silly. Seth, tell me about Orville, please.
Well, see, this was actually the second time ever I watched a movie and felt a really strong urge to beat the shit out of a fictional character.
Yes.
That guy, what's his name, Andy? Like, the whole movie, I'm just like, I'm going to fucking, like, I was getting agitated like I was there. You know, the way he kept threatening their jobs and everything.
And he was
That
smart as fuck
motherfucker,
about it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
the writer Alan Ormsby, right? Like,
Alan
yeah.
Ormsby is Alan, yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just watching it earlier. My daughter's like, "Why is he talking like that?" Because he's a pretentious theater fucker. You know,
He's a smart bitch,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Hello, children. She's like,
Yeah.
"Is he older than them?" I'm like, "No, he's just an asshole."
No, he's just, yeah. But there's a scene at the end of the movie, it was on the steps when he sacrificed, I think that's his sister, isn't it? He throws her to the zombies that are coming up the steps, and the zombies look fucking surprised. I was like, oh my God, it's the best. That's so great. They actually reacted to him, you know, throwing her down the steps. I loved it. I love the movie. It's fun, it's silly, and Alan Ormsby, who directed this? It's
Bob Clark.
Bob
Clark,
went on to
yes.
direct Christmas Story and Black Christmas and Porky's. And Alan, they worked on a film that same year that came out a couple years ago called Death Dream, which is much better than this movie, really.
another one I've never seen.
Death Dream was on my list.
Yeah, it was almost on mine. And Death Dream is a take on The Monkey's Paw, which, if anybody's a Pet Sematary fan, this movie's up your alley because it kind of is the Timmy Baterman story in some ways. And before that even existed, maybe Stephen King kind of ripped it off. I don't know. But and then 2 years later, they made Deranged, which was on my list. Which
Deranged is good, yeah.
An Ed Gein film that Alan co-directed and Bob produced with Roberts Blossom from Christine and Home Alone, the ice shoveler as Ed Gein.
Oh my God, that was him?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I came out the same year as Chainsaw, and I wanted to see it because I got to a point in the mid '90s, early '90s, where I was like discovering Ed Gein's crimes. Like, how have I never heard of this guy? And I saw about this film called Deranged. And I couldn't find it anywhere. You know, there's no internet yet.
Right.
And I found this little mom and pop place that had it on VHS. I rented it and finally saw it. That was a big day for me to finally see Deranged.
I think it's available on Amazon right now on Prime Video. If anybody wants to check out Deranged, but yeah, you're probably right. Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things probably doesn't deserve it, but man, I love it. It's such a fun ride.
It's pretty go $50,000. You know,
It's a popcorn movie.
Right.
Yeah, it's fun.
Plus, you get a couple of good scares in there, and it scares one guy where he keeps repeating, "I just peed my pants." I just peed my pants. He kept saying that over and over.
But it's so funny to see like the quality of that versus like Death Dream or even Black Christmas, which is they're all made like within that same area. But you know, budgets matter, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. I think in about a year we should redo the 70s list after I see the movies on Jared's list, Nate's list, and Seth's list. That Seth mostly has stuff I've seen, but Jared and Nate especially, because I have a feeling this list will be way different. Maybe not the top 10, but the 15 through 25 will be way different in about a year after I've seen everything. Moving on to number 21. And this is one that I didn't feel like it belonged. It was a snooze fest to me, but you guys like it. So, boring as fuck. I'm sorry.
Which We wouldn't have Freddy Krueger if it went for this film because Robert took a lot from Klaus
Do you
Kinski.
guys like the picture I
in this
chose?
Yes.
It was the best one I could find, honestly. Sorry. Go ahead, talk about it. I never could get into it.
I just saw this for the first time the other night because I was scrambling to watch a bunch of 70s films so I could complete a list for this. I liked it. I thought it was. I really liked the score to it, especially, and
I'll give you
I
that.
thought it was an interesting. It was an interesting take. I liked the. I mean, a lot of the like scenery was actually kind of beautiful, especially with when Harker was going to Dracula's castle and everything. And I really like the ending. I like how it ends with Van Helsing getting arrested for murder, and John Harker is a vampire, and he just takes off. I thought that was a pretty clever way to change the story up a little bit. I like it. I think it's a good movie.
I got the original German version. That's the only. I still haven't seen the English version. And obviously, it's not very much different, but it is. He does a really good job.
You pretentious snob. I got the German version. You're a regular Alan Ormsby.
I guess Werner Herzog filmed it in English and in German, but my DVD only has the German versions. I guess.
Yeah.
But
the Werner Herzog
Screen
is one of my
Factory.
great filmmakers, and
yeah. I was just gonna say he did a really good job of homaging the silent film really well, and
that's one of your favorites.
Yes, yeah, all-time favorites.
Yeah, all-time favorites.
It felt like a Hammer film again, like kind of the Hammer films were still there in the 70s, but this was like 79. They were starting to taper off a little bit, but it just had that really great gothic feel.
Kathy says, "Who made this list?" That's how I read it.
Who made this list?
Just wait; it'll get really good. It was a combination of all of us. Jared adores the Nosferatu original 1922 movie, and I guess he likes this one a lot too. So we're moving on. If that's okay? If anybody has
Shadow of a Vampire, Elsa.
I like that movie a lot. Actually, I thought that was a good movie. Number 20 on the list is now I think people will be happy. Black Christmas, and this is a classic slasher. Came out in 74, and guess what? I think it's overrated.
I'm out of here.
It's definitely, precursor to a lot of everybody's favorite slasher films.
No.
People
it
didn't make my list, but it's a good movie. Like the use of never seen the guy from one. John Saxon, awesome in it. I love him in this movie. Is it Olivia Hussey? Is that her name? Margot Kidder is out of fucking control in this movie. She is.
I just love this guy made arguably the best Christmas horror movie and arguably the best Christmas movie comedy or Christmas story that we all watch every year. I just love the look of this film and the atmosphere of this film. And I think John Carpenter's admitted that this was a huge influence on Halloween, which is kind of obvious in some ways. But yeah, when I think of Christmas horror movies, this is the first thing that pops in my head.
Yeah, it's if we made a top list, maybe we'll do that for Christmas. Make a top 10 list of Christmas horror movies. This will probably end up got to be close to number one, if not number one. Olivia Hussey. Ooh,
Juliet, baby.
Man,
It's gorgeous.
got to see her naked in school.
Yeah.
She also plays Norman Bates' mom.
Yeah, she's Mrs. Bates.
Yeah, she's a pretty good actress actually. So yeah, Black Christmas. I was joking about it being overrated. It's not my favorite from the '70s by far, but it's worthy of being in the top 20 for sure of the '70s. And I do like it, and I do think it probably is. I'm trying to think of something that could be better for Christmas horror. And please don't say Silent Night, Deadly Night is better than Black Christmas because it's
not
really
at all. The only thing I could say is Gremlins.
Yeah, for sure. Man, that's gonna be. We should do that for Christmas this year.
Krampus is fun, but not near as good as those two.
No way.
Krampus top 10 for sure. God, well, that'd be a fun list to do because there's not a ton of Christmas horror movies.
Tales from the Crypt has the All Through the House segment with Joan Collins, which is one of my favorite things, but it's a segment. Yeah, she wasn't it. Yeah.
Rare Exports is another one I liked a lot.
That's one I've never seen before. I don't think. Hold on, which one is that? Is that?
It's the Polish, or it's from Finland. It's about they kidnap Santa Claus.
Yes. Okay. Never mind. I saw that last year. Yeah.
Rare Exports.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go and move on to number 19, a movie I love. I don't think this was on Nate's list, but Cronenberg's Rabid. I don't know why I love this movie so much, but I do. I saw it 2-3 years ago. Scream Factory released it on Blu-ray, and the performance of the porn star, I can't remember. Was it Marilyn Chambers? Does anybody like this but me? Was really good, and the ending is very heartbreaking in my opinion. He's on the phone with his girlfriend, and she's sacrificing herself right there, or dying, and she gets dumped out in the middle of fucking trash. I love it. I think it's a great movie. The other option for Cronenberg in the 70s would be Shivers, I guess, right? Actually, no, the Brood didn't make the list either, did it?
The Brood came out in the 70s.
Yeah, it came out in 79. I love the Brood. So I guess I like him quite a bit. Please don't say Christmas Eve or Dial Code for Santa. Dial Code for Santa is fun. It is. Apparently, my 12-year-old self looks like the kid from that movie, and I'll take it. That's what my friend Becky said. I hated the Rabbit remake. I've not seen that yet.
The Saska sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah, Behind the Green Door.
That's number one. I like Rabbit. Must be the only one. So we'll go ahead and move on to number 18. This was number 14 on my list, I think. I originally forgot to add this to the list. King Kong. And I think we all had this on the list, didn't we?
I don't know if we all had it, but I had it 16 on mine. I mean, this was one of those movies I grew up on. I didn't see the 33 movie until later on. But this came out the year I was born, so Jeff Bridges, the gorgeous. God, she was so good looking in that movie. Charles Grodin, who we just lost.
We did?
Yeah, he just died.
Oh my God!
Ago. Yeah,
the star of the Beethoven movies.
Yeah. I got to mention the poster for King Kong was one of the best movie posters of all time. I'm standing on the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
But Rick Baker did the ape, played the ape, I believe, and I don't know. I haven't seen it in a while. I bought the DVD after Godzilla vs. Kong came out, because I'm like, man, I haven't seen that in so long. But this was like a staple. It played on my TV all the time as a kid.
Along with Kong Lives, right?
I didn't watch Kong Lives, though.
I love
this
that
one all the time.
I watched both of them all the time. We had them on tape. But I had the DVD. Scream Factory releasing the Blu-ray of it. I'm excited to get that.
King Kong made my honorable mention list, so I think we did all have it on our list somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah. Seth disappeared. I'm going to just take him off the camera. Seth, where'd you go? Okay, coming in at number 17 is a movie I've only seen once, Deliverance. I'm going to rely on Nate and Jared on this one. I'm sorry, I haven't seen it in forever. I mean, I barely remember it. All I remember is the banjo.
It's a thriller revenge flick and a survival movie.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it in a while, but it's a classic.
This is one of the just best films of the 70s period, really. I mean, it's not even just talk about horror. John Borman, great novel as well. Burt Reynolds, for people who grew up watching Burt, I grew up watching him as the Smokey and the Bandit, Burt Reynolds,
right.
And all that, and I saw Longest Yard.
I mean, Ned Beatty's in it too.
You got Ned Beatty, who's from Louisville native. You got Ronnie Cox. You got course, the star,
Is-
John Voight.
John Voight, yeah.
That movie is it's a nightmare. It's like it's one of those movies. Probably people say, is it horror? Is it not? But if there's ever a nightmare movie, I mean, what's so scary? I mean, you go out into the woods to go, yeah, and a couple of rednecks rape you and try to kill you. I mean, it's pretty horrific and
pretty hardcore.
And it's a great movie about survival. And then, like, by the end of the movie, this scene that always sticks with me: John Voight sitting at the table crying at dinner. Like,
I don't remember it, so I gotta.
Yeah, I mean, that gave me away. He's a star, so But there's a scene where he just breaks down from what he's experienced, kind of similar to how like Tom Hanks breaks down in Captain Phillips at the end of that movie. That's really just makes that whole film for me, like Captain Phillips. But yeah, Deliverance is a motherfucker of a movie.
Seth, have you seen it?
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
Okay. I just don't want to get any spoilers. That's another one I plan to watch because I haven't seen. I have seen it, but I do not remember it at all. And you're right, Nate. That was one of the ones I questioned. Is that a horror movie? Because I never thought of it or heard of it. And that's one of the things you never see pop up as a horror movie.
I mean, I had a few like that on my list, like Deliverance and Wake and Fright and Straw Dogs.
Well, that scene you sent me for Wake and Fright makes me want to check that out.
Yeah.
So, or not me, you sent the whole group that, but I took it like you were showing me that clip. So moving on to the next one on the list, which is number 16. And my voice is, I'm 12, by the way. 16. Salem's Lot. And originally I didn't add this to my list because I was like, that's a miniseries or whatever. But come on. It's a movie, right? Come on.
Yeah.
And it's
Toby Hooper.
Yeah, Toby Hooper and Jerusalem's Lot. And I said, well, Seth added it on his list, and I was like, if Seth can do it, I can fucking do it. So I did. I love Salem's Lot. I don't care how long it is. I know people bitch about how long it is, but I like the setup at the beginning, getting to know some of the people, and I like I'm character builder. I like character building.
Yeah.
They do that quite well in this. Well,
this got like one of the all-time scariest scenes ever put on film. Little boy in the window.
Oh yeah.
The music, everything about that scene, I'm sure gave so many people nightmares forever.
Yeah.
Yes. That is a horror scene done right. Good job. Maybe Hooper's scariest moment. Even someone who made Texas Chainsaw and Poltergeist.
I don't know. I think the scariest moment was with Stretch and TCM2 when she's on the ice and Leatherface is trying to hump her with a chainsaw. And that's some scary moment. Yeah. I love the look of Barlow. He looks so fucking cool.
Yeah, that vampire is the shit. That may be the best looking vampire ever.
Yeah, man. And there's a 90s remake, and who plays Barlow? Is it Seth? Help me. You've seen it. The one with Rob Lowe in it.
Rob Lowe.
Yeah. It was Rutger Hauer, I think, right?
Rutger Hauer, yeah. And I was disappointed. I mean, I like Rutger Hauer, but he wasn't blue. Exactly. That's a good point. One of the best horror films that doesn't need much blood to be. Yeah, absolutely. Which is funny that you say that because moving on to number 15, you want to talk about blood and gore. It's Lucio Fulci's classic, legendary Zombie. Or Zombie Flesh Eaters, whatever you want to call it. The unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead, Zombie 2. I love this movie. Jared loves this movie.
I love this movie.
Seth kind of likes this movie, I think, right? I don't know, Nate. Do you not like it?
I appreciate it, but I'm not the biggest Fulci guy. Like, it belongs on the list because Fulci is a master of horror, and this is probably his most popular known film. So if I was going to pick a Fulci film to be on this list, it would be this one. Any list. Yeah.
I would say if you haven't seen it, check out Don't Torture a Duckling, because that movie, in my opinion, it's got a great story and a great ending. The ending's so good. It might rival this for the 70s, but his best movie is The Beyond, which came out in 1981. But I love this movie top to bottom. Jared's the mayor of the island. It's cool. You got a zombie versus a shark in the movie. Yes, the eye gouge scene.
Yep.
I love this movie. Thank you, Scott. I love that.
I love the movie.
They
I
released
see what he did there.
Blue Underground released a Blu-ray of it where it was like, what is that when you turn it and it like it's a motion thing? I don't know what that's called.
Particular? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, and it was the eye gouge scene. I absolutely love it. Yeah, this is the only Fulci movie that made the list. Not the last Italian horror movie to make the list, though. But yeah, I agree. It does belong on the list. Seth, do you think it belongs on the list?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now, you saw that last year for the first time, wasn't it, or did you see it before that?
Oh no, I saw Zombie way back in high school.
Oh.
I bought the DVD blind, and yeah, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was my first Italian horror movie I've ever seen. But yeah, that eye scene that really stood out to me.
Oh hell yeah! Kathy knows what's up, by the way.
Yep. Gates of Hell trilogy.
Yeah. So now moving on to number 14 is a Romero classic, The Crazies. I don't think this movie gets enough love in the horror community. Am I wrong in saying that?
Well, this and Martin.
Martin for sure. Well, Martin you can't
Yeah.
find anywhere. That's one of the problems. It's out of print and you can't. Because otherwise I would have watched Martin beforehand because I haven't seen Martin since the Blockbuster days. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I have the DVD of Martin.
Do you really? Can I
Yeah.
borrow it?
Yeah.
Can I have it?
Yeah, Scott. Yes, we appreciate that.
Actually,
comment.
the Crazies is actually, I know this is probably an unpopular opinion, but it's my favorite Romero film. I really liked the characters. I like this. I like the story, the setup. Yeah, and the ending I thought was really good too. You know, Romero knows how to end movies on a very sort of like impactful gut punch moment, and
He does.
this one especially with the way it ended. When I first watched it, I actually felt bad for the main characters because of what was revealed at the end. But it's my favorite Romero movie. I've seen it a lot. Yeah, great movie, man.
For some reason, it's prompting me to mute Jared's mic. It says mute mic for Jared. Why would it say that? Moving on to number 13 is, I think it's misplaced on the list. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It is a remake, but man, you might have got somebody watching Deliverance. Deliverance sounds like a good movie. Good pick, Seth. Yeah. So
I'll take my word.
you know what? You can take Nate's word. He loves film, period. But I love this movie, top to bottom. It's a great movie. It's got a great cast, as you see most of them here. Yeah, I love it. How do you guys feel?
I love it too. It's actually one of my favorite horror remakes out there. I actually just showed this to my kids like probably about a month ago, and they loved it. I love the style of the filmmaking of it. It really kind of matched the paranoia, especially when they're walking down the streets and they're first starting to notice things are a little off, and it's it's one of those movies too, like where it's a remake and it's not completely faithful to the source material, but I think it may actually be a little bit better than the source material. And then again with the ending, it has an amazing ending. It's probably the best out of the 4 Invasion of the Body Snatchers movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, the 4. So you're doing the 60s or the 56 one, this one, the 93 one, and
there was one called The Invasion with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig.
Yep.
Did not see that. Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I did not see that one. Yeah, it's a great movie. I thought the 93 one was pretty good too, though.
Gabriel Noir.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Where you
Anything.
gonna go? Where you gonna run?
Yeah, I watched both of them, Kathy. One right after another because I love both of them very much.
Yeah, the original one's great.
The original's so good, and that'll probably be if we do a 50s list.
Yeah, the original is one of the top 3 of the 50s.
It's gotta be.
Yeah.
It actually inspired Halloween 3 a little bit. Moving on to number 12 is a movie that I don't know why I adore it. It reminds me of a movie. It reminds me of a Driver's Ed video for some reason. The way it's presented, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. I don't know why, but it's the most charming horror movie ever.
Like a documentary. Is how
it is. Yeah. But because it's from the 70s, and most of the Driver's Ed videos I saw were from the 70s.
Yeah.
I think it had the same goddamn announcer, or doing like the voiceover and stuff. But I love The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Great title too.
Great title, great poster, based on a true crime that was never solved. I mean, it's just
Texarkana murders.
Yeah, I remember when I was driving down to Texas Frightmare, I had to go through Texarkana. I'm like, holy shit!
Did you want to stop?
I kind of want to stop and see where did it happen? Where did he kill the person with the trombone? Where did that happen?
Yeah. I definitely would love to go down Texarkana. And, for a long time, they were showing this movie to the whole town. Like every anniversary of something or other, they'd show. I don't know if they still do that or not, but I thought that was really kind of cool, even though they're paying tribute to a serial
unsolved murders in the area.
No, I've never seen that. Has anybody seen that? Attack of the Pod People?
No.
I think Scott really gets into the depths of horror with some of the stuff he sees. Nope, never seen Invasion of the Pod People. But yeah, anyway, if you have not seen, it's kind of hard to get. I don't think it's streaming anywhere, but the Town of Dreaded Sundown, Scream Factory has a Blu-ray release of it, and that's about all I know. There was a fun meta 2014 remake-ish type of movie that came out that was good too.
Also, they made the Boggy Creek movie before this, right?
Legend of Boggy Creek.
Yeah. Bigfoot movie.
That's not a bad movie either, actually.
Same style, really.
Was that 70s?
I think it was right before this one, probably like 72, 73, maybe.
That's a good one.
Stay away from the second one.
Yes. Holy shit. I made that mistake with that in The Hills Have Eyes too. I'm like, oh my god.
Well, yeah, Boggy Creek 2 was done by Mystery Science Theater. It was that bad.
Was it? Did they really? Ooh,
yes.
That's not good. Okay, we're just powering through this list, but that's okay because the top 10 we're probably going to get into a little bit of juice. So number 11 is Suspiria, Argento's most popular movie, and it's for good reason. Yeah, it has an amazing soundtrack.
Fucking soundtrack. This is like what
Claudio Simonetti, man.
Yep. Like the marriage of sound, music, and imagery. That's what makes Suspiria. It is like you're just like in another world when you watch this film. Like it's just so, like that music is just so in your fucking face.
It is.
It's
yeah.
like you cannot not like fall asleep watching this movie.
No, because the music will strike, and I love the beginning when she lands at the airport and Susie Banyan, and it's like that's odd. Or am I the only one that has that copy that there's a guy talking about who she is? I like Suspiria. I think Deep Red's better, but Suspiria it's deserving of its place because it's one of David puts it very well. Atmospheric horror masterpiece, absolutely.
Yeah, you're in his hands when you watch that movie.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. Probably should have been in the top 10. Maybe not. I don't know. Because the next movie on the list. Anything else, Jared? You want to say something about Suspiria?
No, I mean, you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head. David did too. It's just it's full of atmosphere, and it just like draws you in to wonder what the fuck's going on. And then you're like, once you figure out what's going on, you can't stop watching.
And we've been talking about doing a show, kind of talking about this in the 2018 remake.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do that eventually, Suspiriorum. And check out Inferno if you haven't seen that. That's the sequel for the Three Mothers trilogy.
Mother of Tears.
That's the last one. Came out in 2007. It should have been made in like the 80s, but it came out in 2007. So it's time for the cream of the crop. We're getting down to the top 10. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Maybe by number 10. I was surprised it got to number 10 because I like getting into the horror, getting into groups of horror and finding out what people like and what people don't like. This movie doesn't get as much love as I thought it would. I adore this movie. It's the Amityville Horror. I absolutely love this movie, but apparently not many people that are horror fans like it as much.
I like the sequel a lot more.
The Possession?
Yeah, like that's my favorite. But like, the Amityville Horror is an okay film, but like the story behind it, performances. I mean, it's one of the great haunted house movies.
Yeah. That was one of the early ones I saw when my mom loved it. She adored it. She was one of those people that kind of followed the Lutz case growing up because it happened when she was 15 or 16 years old. And so she was really enthralled with that. And I remember her talking about that. And when it got to time to show it to me, she's like, you got to watch. This is one of my favorite movies. She had like 4 different copies on VHS. I wonder where I get my collector mentality from. Anyway, she had like 4 copies of it on VHS, and we watched it one night. And I remember seeing Jody in the window, and the descent to madness with George, and how more disheveled he looks, and and fucking Margot Kidder's on this list twice.
Yeah.
And then James Brolin I think he's fantastic in this movie.
Oh, he's really, really, really good in the film.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a great Eddie Murphy bit out of this movie.
Did we?
Yeah, his classic talking about white people moving into haunted houses.
It's true.
He made a whole bit about this.
I'll have to find that.
Poltergeist, and it's one of the
Was
funniest
that
things.
probably on Raw or the other one?
I think it was on Deliverance because he's like, like they say, he said, black people wouldn't do that. And like, yeah, this is beautiful, baby. I love it. Look, the kids are happy. They're in the yard. Get out. Too bad we can't stay, baby.
We gotta go.
I'll have to look that one up and see if I can.
Yeah, that might be on Delirious, I think.
I think it's on Delirious. Yeah.
Very worthy. Thank you. All right, moving on to number 9. Just put it up there. The Omen. I think you're going to start seeing the familiar titles here. The Omen I love this movie. It's another one you don't hear very much about. Any thoughts from you guys?
Yeah, one of the biggest of the 70s. I mean, definitely kind of riding that Exorcist. They're capitalizing on that. But Richard Donner, one of the great filmmakers, has one of the scariest scenes again in film. I mean, do you know what scene I'm talking about?
It's All for You?
Yes.
Yeah.
That fucking creeps me out.
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm. Well, the one part about that whole scene is when everybody looks at her and they focus on the clown for a second after it happens, and the clown's hugging one of the kids or something. But even so, there's the graveyard scene, the decapitation scene that was perfectly executed for back then, especially.
Yeah.
And the lore behind everything that's going on, and there is paranoia in this movie as well. Plus the scene when Lee Remick falls when she's knocked down. What a great scene!
That shot of her fall, and then I mean, this movie has Gregory Peck, one of the great screen actors of all time, doing a great horror film. David Warner,
Warner's great.
It's a worthy.
The voice of Ra's al Ghul in Batman the Animated Series, and he supposedly might have played Freddy, right?
No.
That's
debunked.
Once again, influential historical impact, but never been a fan of this one.
I'm not a huge fan of it, David, but it belongs on the list.
Yeah, I think I love it.
That's fair.
The Crazies 2 sounds like okay. Yeah, Crazies is a good one. So we're beyond that though. So we're making really good time. I was really worried about time, but we're making really good time. I don't know if we're ever gonna get a chance to talk about the number 8 on the list, but this fucking movie, every time I see or hear anything about this movie pop up, I think of and most people think they're all gonna laugh at you, but I think of the kid riding by on the bike, creepy Carrie, every time. And Carrie is a damn good movie.
This is one of I love this film. This is my favorite De Palma film. This is a masterpiece, in my opinion. I love everything about this movie. I think it's one of the greatest horror films, period. Not just of the 70s, but period.
Yeah, it is.
As far as one that doesn't get mentioned enough, it belongs on any list. I just fucking love Carrie.
Excuse me.
Yeah, and this
Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie alone, their performance. I mean, they were both Oscar nominated, I believe, for their performance.
First of all, Piper Laurie was just out of her mind in this movie. Like, I mean, she was so good. But Sissy Spacek, I don't know if it's her actual complexion or what they did to her, but she looked kind of scary. You know, I mean, she had pale skin,
Sickly, yeah.
Yeah, she looked really, yeah, exactly. And I think that added a lot to it because there's been two other interpretations of Carrie. And like Chloe Moretz Grace, I think is her name. She plays her. It's not as believable as Sissy Spacek in this role. She plays it so well. In that first scene, not the first scene. By the way, the first time I saw this, my mom fast forwarded past that first scene. You know, plug it up.
Oh yeah.
She wouldn't let me watch that. I was like, why didn't you let me watch that? There's like 20 nude girls in there. You're 12. I'm like, okay. And she's like, do you know what it means to plug it up? I'm like, no. She's like, okay, just watch. So the first scene I remember seeing is Carrie in the principal's office, and he kept calling her Cassie. And I love the way that plays out. It's so good. Plus, Nancy Allen is fucking amazing in this part. She is so good.
Yeah, she's excellent, and Amy Irving's good. And,
yep.
And William Catt,
John Travolta.
John Travolta. One of his early. It's like. Yeah, I just love it. I love Brian's use of split screen. Like I said, when she goes crazy, it is epic and it's terrifying. Like I think that the creepy Carrie scene was creepy, but I remember that shot where John and Nancy are about to run her over, and she just turns around real quick, and the violin street,
Yeah.
And it's like that. Just the image of this girl walking down. A road, a suburban road covered in blood in that gown, the way she's walking, the way she's like stiff and hands out to the side, just horrific. And just that whole build up to the whole moment where, the iconic moment. It's just one of the great filmmakers. Again, we had in the 70s some of our greatest filmmakers making horror films. We had Spielberg and De Palma and Friedkin, and there were classy filmmakers making these horror films, and we're seeing that now, but no one's appreciated it. Maybe 20 years from now they will, but
40 years from now,
maybe.
Hereditary was a fantastic movie. They'll be my kids will be talking about on their horror podcast, maybe with your daughter, Nate, and Seth's daughters. Very different. Yeah, she was great. Piper Laurie was great. Iconic. I will say one thing about the 2013 movie. I thought Julianne Moore did really well in that role as well. What's up, Darren? How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, Julianne Moore's one of the greatest actors of all time.
Yeah, and
she does a great job. It's just Piper was so good. I had a problem separating the original from that remake because they were using a lot of the same dialogue and a lot of the same moments. And I was like, I've heard this stuff done perfect already, and it's kind of hard to. Even though Chloe, I love Chloe, I love Julian. It was a
pointless remake, in my opinion.
I felt
like Psycho.
I felt the remake was a missed opportunity because bullying and cyberbullying and all this is such a. They could have really gone more with the bullying and further, but it didn't. I felt it was kind of weak on the bullying end of it.
Yeah. Oops, I put that up there twice. Yeah, I agree. They kind of went the classic route with the movie, just a straight up remake. And coming in at number 7, I want to hear Seth talk about this one. The last great horror movie of the 1970s. I want to hear from Seth because you adore this series.
I do. I've been fighting for.
It's in this spot because of you, I believe. Because you had it like at number 2 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the Phantasm franchise, and I've been fighting for any of these movies to make our list since our 90s episode.
4 wasn't going to make the list. Or 3.
No, I was actually surprised part 2 didn't make the 80s list, but Phantasm's great. It's one of those movies where even to this day, I still don't fully 100% understand what's going on, and I'm perfectly fine with that. You know,
Yeah.
especially with the end, you know, it's like they kind of answer it in the sequels, but then they don't. You know, the whole thing of was Jodie dead before the movie began? Was he dead from a car crash, or did he die because of the tall man? You know, they've kind of skirted around that, but yeah, Phantasm's great. A great soundtrack.
Yeah.
You know, it is, you know, clearly dated, but it's really good movie. Very creative, and not bad for. Well, it was Coscarelli's first film, right?
No, he made Kenny and
like
Company.
Yeah.
He made 2 films before. He made Kenny and Company, which is excellent, 1976 movie, which inspired this movie. And I think he made another one as well, blanking on it. But I think you're right. Like, the thing about Phantasm that really sticks out to me is how unique it is. There's nothing like Phantasm. Like, it's
exactly.
It is its own thing. I can't see any influence there. Like, a lot of stuff you can see, oh, that came from this, that came from that. Phantasm is its own thing. You know, it's really different.
There's parts of it. There's a little bit of it that kind of almost reminds me of an Italian giallo at times, and especially with the score. And the score is penetrating. And that is the wrong word.
Well, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Penetrating.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about Don, but was he a big horror guy anyway? Because it almost feels like someone who isn't just following horror tropes or following horror. Because I know he made Kenny and Company, and the reason what inspired this film was there's a scene in Kenny and Company, because Kenny and Company is about these kids waiting until Halloween night. They're like counting down the days to go to Halloween, and they go to a haunted attraction, and they get scared. And in the theater, when they were screening the movie, everybody jumped and went crazy. And Don liked the way that happened, so he said, I want to make a whole movie like that. And I like how the audience is reacting to this. And so I don't even know if he was like a big horror guy or even intended to be a horror guy at that point.
It happened. Yeah, it's a good movie. Hey, David Gill, if you're still out there, what is your favorite Phantasm movie? Because you said this is my favorite. Yeah, a lot of people say 2.
2's my favorite.
3. The first one's my favorite, but I like 3 better than 2. I'm
3's a blast.
Seth, is for the first one your favorite? Is 2?
Oh, part 2 is my favorite.
Of course. All right.
Well, I mean, I love the first one too, and yeah, I mean, it took him like a couple years to make this movie, right? Like, because like he was, I thought I read something like he was like they were shooting on the weekend. He was renting a camera on Friday.
Yeah. And he borrowed money from his dad, I think. Is that right? Yeah. But the thing that this movie has that the other movies doesn't have is Reg and Jody sitting down playing some guitar and singing a song.
Jim the World's Best is the other movie he made before that. Killer Jawas,
yeah. 2 is everybody's favorite, apparently. Yeah, the Killer Jawas. Damn it, double tapping. Okay, moving on, and this might be a surprise. And I want reactions, people. I love reactions. Number 6 on our top 25 is The Exorcist. Oh,
that's where it was on my list as well.
For shame. I don't remember where it was on my list, but it wasn't number 1. It was not number 1 on anybody's list.
I think I had mine at 3.
Yeah, mine was in the top 5, I believe. The Exorcist is a fine movie. I love it to death. I do, and I'm sure all of us. Maybe I don't know about Seth. I know Nate loves it as well, but it's a fine movie. But it's not the best movie of the '70s or of all time, for that matter.
I don't know about that. Like, it's another, and like Deliverance, it's another one of the great films, period, of the 1970s. William Friedkin coming off an Oscar with The French Connection makes this horror film. Again, we had great filmmakers making horror. And, you know, one of the great novels, William Peter Blatty's novel, is like the only novel I've ever read where the hair actually stood up on my arms reading it. And this movie is the only movie that's really ever scared me and caused me to lose sleep when I saw it at 12. Terrified me. And it's one of the movies. Yeah, it's one of the movies. Like I'm apprehensive to watch it. Even now, I get a little anxious putting it on because it's terrifying.
Yeah, it is. And I got to see this late. I got I got to see in the theater the version you've never seen before. That was my first experience with it. It was one of those that it's got this great reputation that it's like Hellraiser was one that I stayed away from for
That was
years.
That was another one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. See, and I had this reputation, and The Exorcist. I'd pass it in the video store, and I all through the '90s after I got my license, '96. Anyway, we went to the video store and we'd go down the list and find all these movies, and I passed over The Exorcist, and I had seen Exorcist 3 before, but I passed over The Exorcist because it was one of those movies that had that reputation. I'm like, I don't know. And then by then, when it came out, I think it was '99 or 2000, I was like, fuck it, I gotta see this. It's in the theater. I have to do this, and it terrified me to my core, especially seeing things on the big screen like the flashes of Pazuzu. There's sounds coming from behind you, that you won't hear on a regular TV screen. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot into this movie, and I mean, what can we say about the performances of in this movie of all of the actors? Linda Blair and
more Ellen Burstyn.
Ellen Burstyn's phenomenal.
Cobb and Miller, and it's just a perfect movie. And I had the greatest setup for it because I didn't know what the movie was until I was about 11, and a kid down the street, his dad had all these VHS tapes he got from the place you'd order 10 copies for a penny or whatever it was. And it was still in the plastic, and we're like, why is it still in the plastic? He goes, my mom wouldn't let him open that. She didn't want it in the house. She was angry, and I'm like, what is this movie that his mom doesn't even want it in the house? And that was my introduction to The Exorcist. Like, what is this thing? I couldn't watch it then because they wouldn't let us open it and watch it. But I saw it maybe a year later on cable, on TV, and still, I couldn't sleep that night.
When we did our Exorcist episode last year, I think it was, we mentioned about the audiences of today's reaction. I mean, one thing I will say, go Google Exorcist reactions, because you'll see how people were reacting to it in the 70s in the theater. People passing out and throwing up in the aisles and all that stuff. But my kids think it's boring. I'm like Reynolds, we watched Insidious, and that freaked him out. We watched Conjuring, that freaked him out a little bit. I was like, well, if those freak you out, let's watch this. And he's over there, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, I don't think this holds up for the generation of now, but it has its place in horror history as one of the finest horror films ever made. Not just because of the scary nature of it or even the religious nature, which can scare some people. It's a great looking movie.
70s film in general is patient. It's a slow burn movie to making and character driven. So it's not scare every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It doesn't shock me that, and everything that these movies do has been copied and emulated and done over. So by the time modern audiences see it, they're like, "Oh, I've seen this before. I've seen this 1,000 times." Well, in 1973, no one had seen that shit. It just was a gut punch to people.
And it was making people. It messed people up.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to number 5 is Alien. Alien came out on my birthday the year before I was born, May 25th, 1979. There's a couple ways I've seen people talk about Alien, and one, it's like a haunted house type of movie, and a slasher. It's kind of a mix between the two, and I see that. It's a good ass movie, man. It is better than any other Alien movie that followed it, in my opinion. And I know a lot of people like Aliens, but Alien's so fucking scary. It really is.
It's one of the scariest films ever made.
It's
truly scary.
The tagline alone, it gives you an idea of what the movie is going to take you through,
Yeah, and amazing cast. Again, one of the great filmmakers, Ridley Scott. 70s, man, it was just full of the best filmmakers around making horror, and claustrophobic and just tense and suspenseful. And got my boy Harry Dean Stanton in there. His death scene is just fucking excellent. I've studied that scene so much.
Yeah. Tom Skerritt, And yeah, Ripley, of course, they made a franchise out of her, not really the aliens. It's a really good movie. We need to do a show on the series franchise at some point. We haven't, have we? No, we haven't.
I don't think we've done any Alien.
Yeah, we haven't at
shows,
all. We need to. Seth, you're shaking your head. No, you don't want to, or
I think he does.
not like
Oh,
Alien?
shaking my head. No, shaking my head. We haven't done one. I would like to do one.
I was gonna say, I was like, hold on. You don't like Alien? Oh
Yeah.
man.
No, I love the first movie, and one of the great things about it is like it's like it's an ensemble movie, and if you watch the movie for the first time, you don't know anything about the franchise. Who's the main character? Everyone feels important in Alien.
Right.
Every single character does, until they die, until they're taken out one by one. And all the characters, they feel real and they feel natural together. The dialogue from Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Schuster, I believe, is fantastic. They feel like real people. It feels like it could be something that could happen in the future. It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, you're right, because Ripley doesn't feel like the final girl. Like, oh, this is going to be our hero. She's just one of the crew. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you've seen what happens beyond this, going into that, what about Ripley and everything. But yeah, that's right. Going into that the first time, I was like, oh, there's Dana Barrett. I saw Ghostbusters way before I saw Alien.
Mm-hmm.
See, yes, prefers Aliens. Aliens did not make our 80s list because
nothing wrong with Aliens. Aliens is amazing. One of the best sequels ever made.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Great lines. It's good. So moving on to number 4. A little disappointed where this was placed, but that's okay because it belongs in the top 5. Is Dawn of the Dead, another Romero movie. It's the second Romero movie on the list, I believe now. I just had 4 of them, but
I just realized the top 6 are exactly my order.
Is it really?
Yes.
You did this on purpose.
No, I didn't.
He did.
It keeps changing every time we had votes. Everybody turned in their votes, but I'm just realizing now that it's identical. Yes, well, Dawn. Yes.
The top 11. When you said when you finished the list, you said something like it really shows the best of the 70s. Something like, I can't remember the exact thing you said, but
the top 11 is a good representation.
There
of
we
the
go.
best
Yeah,
of the 70s.
Yeah.
It's true. I still fight for Aliens as a horror movie. You know what? If you think it's a horror movie, it's a horror movie.
It's pretty horrifying. Like, what's scarier than an alien? A lot of aliens.
I'm just going to give up on my fight for is it horror, is it not horror. If you think it's a horror movie, it's a fucking horror movie. That's the way it should. It is. That's the way it should be. And I'm going to tell you, fucking Mannequin 2 on the Move is a horror movie. Anyway,
a horror to cinema.
So Dawn of the Dead, man. I mean, we've talked about Dawn of the Dead, a full show. So check that out. It's on the channel. But I love Dawn of the Dead. It's my favorite zombie movie. I know it's not Seth's, but
my favorite zombie movie. Yeah.
Jared, is it your favorite zombie movie?
Well, yes, of course.
Wow, we got a threesome.
And I had a great Dawn of the Dead moment recently. I'd met Greg Nicotero about 6 years ago at Wonderfest. So I was catching up with him, and so we were talking. He was showing me a picture. He just recreated the Jaws shark, and he was showing me a picture on his cell phone. But as we were talking, my cell phone went off, and my cell phone is the Dawn of the Dead closing credits music. And as soon as that went off, like Greg goes, "Is that your ringtone?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Why didn't I think of that?" He goes, "I need that." So it was just funny that music started playing as I'm talking to this guy who's so attached to Romero and Dead films.
And he got to work on Day of the Dead, which is another great movie.
Yeah, great fucking movie. I just love this film. Feels like it's long. It's almost 3 hours long. It doesn't really feel it, but you do feel like you've been watching it for a month because you really know these characters. It does.
Because it plays out over a lot of time too, though.
Yeah, and it feels like you have invested all that time but it's really only 2 hours 40 minutes or whatever. But that's why I like it far more than the remake. The remake's good, but the remake's so fast in every way. It has so many characters.
It's different too. It's very different.
Yeah, like I just feel like I know Peter and Flyboy, and by the time they're all dying, it's like really heartbreaking, and because I feel like I've lived with them for a month, because of the way the movie's
Well, you do. That's character. You meet these 4 characters early on in the movie, and you get to watch them deal with the pandemic. Live through all this and try to figure out a way to survive all this. And you get to know each one and each one's problems and fears and stuff. And you get to see one of them go nuts, thinking he could do anything. And I love each one of the characters. And this introduced me to Ken Foray, who I adore that actor. That man, he's a great actor.
Yeah,
and
it gives us that great tagline.
Yeah, he got to say the tagline. And this is the first movie that ever scared the shit out of me when I was really little. I've told the story before. I'm not going to tell it again, but it scared me, and I stayed away. It's another one I stayed away from for many years until I turned 16. I was like, I got to see this now. So, yeah, I'm sure
it was number 2 on my list.
By the way, what?
It was number 2 on my list. Yeah,
did you drop a deuce on it?
I did. Big one.
So, Seth, did you have it on your list?
It's on everybody's list.
Okay. Well, it should be. It's very high on the list. All right. Who's ready for number 3? Who's ready to be disappointed? Seth, are you disappointed? Number 3 is Halloween.
Oh, I was wrong.
Oh, we're skipping to number 1 already?
You had that plan the whole time, didn't you?
I was actually wrong. This is number 2 on my list. So 2 and 3 are swapped.
This was number 8 on my list.
Yeah.
I think this was 4, 5 on mine. I can't remember now.
I'm out. Sorry. Halloween's not that great. It is.
It is great. Just not the best.
No, it's not the best of the 70s. We'll get there. But Halloween's a great fucking movie. You've got everything in this movie. You've got atmosphere. You've got, you know what? I'm going to stop and just say you've got Donald Pleasance. Period. That's what you've got in Halloween. I love Sam Loomis. Everything about him from the beginning when he says, "Go on, move," and he keeps calling Michael Myers. I love him so much, and I'm glad that they centered a lot of the series around him moving after the first movie, because he was my favorite character in the entire movie. He was the thing. You watch a Batman movie, you're waiting to see Batman, and you're waiting to see Jason and a Jason movie. I was waiting to fucking see Sam Loomis, okay? I was waiting to see Donald Pleasance again because he's so good and he chews up so much scenery in this movie. I love him to death. I'm so glad he was cast over Christopher Lee.
This movie just instantly takes me back to the late 70s, early 80s as a kid, trick-or-treating in the suburbs. That was how it was. That's how it felt. Those people, the way they looked, because I was born in 76, so this is 2 years after that. I remember my parents looking like this, hanging out, all this stuff in the suburbs. That's how the suburbs looked. John's from Kentucky. I'm from Kentucky, so it's it feels like Kentucky. Might as well be,
I'm from Illinois. It felt like Illinois.
Yeah. It's Deborah Hill, but I go to this movie. It's one of the 5 movies. Another one's on our list that we haven't mentioned yet, that I turn to as a filmmaker and watch when I need inspiration and just.
And let me ask you, how often do you watch it with John's commentary? Because he gets into a lot of what he does as a filmmaker in the commentary.
Not enough. I don't watch it enough.
You should. It's
because I want to watch the film.
Right.
Because I've watched this movie so many times. I can't even tell you how many.
Seth, why don't you jump in on this?
Well, it's underrated to you, Sean.
Yeah, I know. I'm curious how old Sean is.
I'm out of here.
We got a lot of people dipping tonight.
Halloween was number 1 on my list. You guys know I'm a huge John Carpenter fanboy. I don't
surprising.
know
more Carpenter or American Werewolf in London. Which do you like better? That's my question.
It's like choosing between my 2 daughters. not going to do that. Yeah, no.
Seth's choice.
Wait till
Yeah,
we're off air for that.
It was the firstborn, but
Depends on which one pisses me off. Yeah, no. The first Halloween movie is pure art, in my opinion. Everything about it, from the way it was shot, the way the deliberate pacing, the music, the atmosphere. It's a great exercise in suspense. I mean, for a movie really where nothing really happens until the third act, it's a movie that kind of keeps you sort of like on the edge of your seat the entire time, and it never feels boring. It's got great characters, great mythology to it, and sometimes I love the whole franchise, but sometimes I kind of think, in a way, it almost feels like the sequels kind of are a disservice to the first movie. Sometimes I feel like I kind of wonder what it'd be like if it was like every other John Carpenter movie where it's a one and done, type of deal. Because if you think about the way that it ends, it would have been way more effective as a one-time deal. Yeah, but I can't say enough good stuff about Halloween.
In the words,
and it's definitely not overrated. Sean.
In the words of the great Bruce Campbell, the Cadillac of slasher films. There you go.
There you go.
It's a great movie. It's one that I watch multiple times a year. I don't wait till Halloween. I do watch it on Halloween. It's tradition, but I watch it throughout the year. Not like a ton, but it's no Dream Master when it comes to me watching it. But I do love Halloween. Halloween is also a movie that kind of is a gateway movie for a lot of fans too. I think a lot of fans came into horror on the heels of Halloween, or something along those lines. So it deserves its place in the top 5, top 3. I had it at 8 because I love a lot of these other movies a little bit more. Especially this one is my number 1, but it's okay because the next movie I'll explain what number 1 is. Here's number 2, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We did a whole series on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre last year, which is all on, and you'll see Keith. It's all on YouTube, so you can check it out. But the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, boys, what do you think? I think I own 5 versions of the first Halloween movie.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Go ahead, Seth.
No, go ahead.
No, you go, Seth. Go.
Go, Seth. I talk too much.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like a movie that I appreciate more and more every time I watch it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because like when I first watched it when I was a teenager, well over 20 years ago, or whatever, I was a little disappointed with it because it didn't check off some boxes as far as slashers go. I didn't feel like I didn't get the structure of it, and I was like, well, not that slashers or horror movies in general are known for character development and stuff, but like these characters, they're just there. You know what I mean? There's not much to them. But then, as I said, the more and more I rewatch it, the more I appreciate it for its style. The way that it almost kind of brings you into the journey, almost like you're with those kids in that van. And especially just seeing it like over a month ago with my kids and really paying attention to it and paying attention to the way Leatherface behaves and with the family dynamic. I think I mentioned this to you maybe off air one time, Ray, but like it's almost like a reverse home invasion movie. If you think about the way Leatherface reacts, especially after the last one who entered the house gets killed, and Leatherface rushes to the window. He's almost like freaking out, looking out, seeing if there's any more people that's going to come into his house. You know what I mean? And he's not like
looks like he's in trouble too.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And Leatherface isn't a traditional slasher villain either. He's not he doesn't have motivation. He's not diabolical or evil or anything like that. He's just sort of he was raised and conditioned to be a specific way. So he doesn't know the basic concepts of right and wrong, and he just kind of reacts. And I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is an interesting movie that has a lot more layers than I initially thought when I first watched it. On the surface, it looks like a very simple movie, but I think there's a lot more to it than that.
Agreed. What were you gonna say, Nate?
I've always thought it was kind of the birth of the modern horror film. And Texas Chainsaw is one of those movies, like The Exorcist, like a lot of these films on this list that a lot of younger generations like to call overrated or not scary or whatever. It's because it's been ripped off so many goddamn times.
Right.
It's one of those films that it was an alarming, attacking film. It felt like a documentary. It felt very genuine and authentic. It feels like a voyeuristic film. It's like we're seeing something that actually is happening. Mm-hmm. The complete insanity of the film, from the elements that they made it in, showed up on screen. I kind of always felt the movie was a happy accident because it feels like they caught something on film that they maybe didn't really. Almost like you couldn't plan for what they caught on film, and it's just it's a masterpiece. It really is, and it's, to me, changed horror from then on, because horror was no longer Vincent Price or Boris Karloff or vampires and Transylvania. It was the guy next door. What's he doing?
Face too.
Yeah, and as for a movie as impactful it is to be almost bloodless and goreless, but still have the power that it does and the reputation that it does, and the title tells you what you're getting. It's like a great title.
Yeah, it's a great time. It's a great movie. It's my favorite of the 70s as far as horror goes. And not saying the next one's not a horror movie. Anybody have any ideas what number one is? Jared, do you want to say anything about Texas Chainsaw before we move on?
Just the first moment when he bashes him, the guy in the back of the head with the mallet, and pulls him into the meat locker and just slams it shut, is one of the most chilling scenes in horror history.
It's iconic as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but there's a couple scenes in it that I really adore, and it's right after that when the girl falls into the bone room, and they just pan around the room showing different things, furniture they've made out of bones, and feathers are kind of in the air, and then she runs out of the house, and Leatherface grabs her in midair and just throws her on the hook. I don't know how anybody could ever fucking think the remake is it's better than this fucking movie. That right there is blasphemy. And then it's fucking blasphemy. And Seth put up a fun meme the other day about Franklin's the one time that we get to cheer for the a handicapped man to die or whatever. I thought that was pretty funny because Franklin's an asshole. But the dentist scene is one of the most iconic, terrifying things ever shot in a movie. In my opinion, I mean, her grandpa coming down, to hit her head in the head. The way that Nubbins is acting, the way the cook beats her with a fucking broom. Not in that scene, but this movie is scary as fuck because it could happen anywhere in America to anybody in America.
Marilyn's performance in that last half hour is just fucking like I've never seen anything like it.
She jumps through 2 fucking windows in the movie, and then as she's running down the road and Nubbins is following her with a straight razor slashing at her back. Meanwhile, you got Leatherface right behind them with a chainsaw. And, the ending is so fucking amazing. And she gets away by the skin of her teeth. It's an amazing movie. And I'm sorry, if you think that the remake is better, you're wrong. You are 100% wrong. And I don't do that to people, but the remake is a piece of shit compared to this. Number one is Jaws.
And on to the next topic.
Sorry, that makes me mad. Anyway, ever fucking say that? That's ridiculous. You must be 12 years old. Jaws is the best movie of the 1970s for horror. It's one of the best movies of all time, period.
Yeah.
It's. I've always said that Jaws is more than horror. It transcends horror. There's so much to this movie. It's a beautifully shot movie. It's got a great cast. I love. This is one of my favorite movies, period.
Yeah. In my top 5 of films, period. And
That's
again, with Halloween, one of my top 5 that I turn to. I cannot get enough of Jaws. I watch this movie all the time. Just the way Spielberg handles characters and relationships and family and Americana, and it's really those characters are who you're invested in this movie, apart from just that shark. And
you
when
meet,
the shark,
you meet the Brodies right
Yeah.
after that iconic opening scene, and immediately you see they're just an all-American family, and you find out really easily that he's afraid of the water. Why did he move to the island? You know, it's only an island if you look at it from. You know, I love everything about this movie.
You give your hero a fear and then you attack it. Spielberg does it all the time. It's his Brody's afraid of the water, Indy's afraid of snakes. You know, these things work, and this film is just a textbook good filmmaking. You want to know how to make good films? Watch Jaws.
Scott, let us know what some of the omissions are that you're thinking of. I'd love to hear. And I mean, Jaws is a next to Dream Master, and I'm going to go back to Dream Master because that's my comfort horror movie. Jaws is my period. It's just my comfort movie, period. It's one of those movies I can turn on any time of the day, anywhere, and just I love it. It's like every time I watch it, I visit my old friends. Hooper comes in. You got. I love the way he comes in and he gets off the boat and he's like, I can't talk enough about how much I love this movie. I'll go on for hours. Seth, what do you think about Jaws? Where did it rank on your list?
Oh, it was definitely in the top 5 on my list. I think it's a fantastic movie. Great characters. I love Richard Dreyfuss as what the fuck is his name? Character name?
Hooper.
Oh,
Hooper?
Matt Hooper.
Yeah, Matt Hooper. Stop playing with yourself, Hooper.
Yeah, he's great. Like you know, especially his interactions with Brody and even with Quint. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, it's got a lot of great characters. I mean, even the film's main villain, the mayor. You know, that was an interesting
Murray
choice.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
He fucks everything up in Amityville too. I'm just saying. What an asshole.
Yeah. No,
John, if you haven't seen any of the sequels, the second one's really good. The other two.
Don't lie, Jared. You love 3D.
I do love 3D, but that's a guilty pleasure.
Go ahead.
I actually just picked up at Walmart. They have a Blu-ray 3-pack of Jaws 2, 3, and 4. It was only like 12 something. So that wasn't bad at all. And then I just upgraded the Blu-ray for the first Jaws, so now I own them all. Even though I only like the first 2, I have to give 3 another
gotta
shot.
have the series. Gotta have the series as a collector.
Yeah. I know. I think we're doing a show on the sequels.
Yeah, I was just looking at the schedule. We're doing
probably July-ish.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing Jaws. We're going to break down Jaws completely on June 24th. I moved it up because I had to get rid of the Conjuring 3 review. But June 24th, we're doing the Jaws sequels, and the week after that, we were doing. Hold on, did we talk about Jaws already?
I don't remember. Did we?
I don't know.
I thought we did last year for
June. June, yeah, I think you're right because June 24th is just the Jaws sequels is for June 24th because next week is supposed to be our Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation commentary, which I think we were all drunk when we decided to do that. But anyway, Nate, what do you got to say? Anything else about Jaws?
I love you.
I got it. Yeah, my daughter said. Again, like it's a movie I've grown to admire more and more every year, and I just turn to it all the time as just for class, for film school. Like everything about it, like it just hits. It has everything. It has everything you want. It has comedy. It has great relationship. It has family stuff. It has drama. It has action, horror, suspense. It's all there. And that movie inspired so many generations of filmmakers. I talked about Greg Nicotero. He's one of the biggest fans of Jaws. He bought my Jaws artwork from me because he just restored the shark, and he's built like full body sculptures of Quint and Brody and Hooper.
Oh wow!
And that movie is a big deal. I'm actually having to leave right now, but that's why I'm got it closed. But yeah, I fucking love this movie. It was my number one, and I don't know what to say. I mean, there were a lot of great 70s movies. I think a lot of it was a lot of us haven't seen everything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff you guys had that I hadn't seen. Like, I haven't seen the Blind Dead movies. I haven't seen a lot of the Italian stuff. I think everything.
There's a lot of good ones in there too, Nate.
Yeah. So what's really cool is that because of that, we can inspire each other to see these movies. I'm going to inspire our watchers to watch these movies. And, I'm going to look into films that you all mentioned, and hopefully, I know you said you're going to do the same with mine.
I definitely plan to. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Scott says Magic Sisters, Demon Seed, It's Alive 1 and 2, Dracula 72. I don't think that belongs on the list. I like that movie, but Night of the Lepus doesn't belong on the list either, in my opinion. And Let's Scare Jessica to Death. Those are some that Scott say are not on the list. I know Magic and Sisters, I believe, are on Nate's list.
Magic was on my list.
Magic was on your list. Yeah, that's one that I want to see. Was it the Devil or what? There's one that you.
The Devils.
Yeah.
The Devils, a Ken Russell movie with Oliver Reed and Vanessa Redgrave's fucking fantastic.
I think it's on Shudder.
Is it?
I had the Tenet, Roman Polanski's movie.
Actually, I forgot to put that on my list.
Eraserhead.
David Lynch.
Silent Scream.
Wake and Fright, you said before.
Wake and Fright. What else did I have? I had Race with the Devil. With old Warren Oates and Peter Fonda being chased by Satanists. Hitchhike, Straw Dogs. Yeah, I had a lot of movies that probably don't jump out as horror films in some ways because they kind of walk that line, but they are
right.
Yeah.
And that's why I ran into trouble. I almost ran into trouble like Seth did. Seth almost didn't have 35. Most of the stuff I've seen from the 70s is Italian because I've gone on this Italian kick the last couple of years, and there's a lot of stuff I've missed. And as you know, I am is it really horror? And I have that problem. Then I got to get past that and try to see some of these movies and watch them again, like Deliverance. And I know I got your list. And Nate put up his list, and I'm gonna put my list up on my Facebook page. After the show, maybe at some point. Seth will probably do the same. Jared doesn't never do anything on Facebook, so
I just changed my profile picture.
Oh my god! Interesting.
To an old abandoned amusement park that was in my town. Once I watched that Romero show today, I was like, it made me think of the old amusement park here in town. So I'm gonna go ahead and briefly list my ones that didn't make the list. When a Stranger Calls. Shockwaves, Nazi Zombies, Orca, Killer Whale movie, what's really good. What Have You Done to Solange, Italian Giallo. And I think I mentioned Death Dream earlier. That was another one that actually made my top 25 list, but that wasn't even in the honorable mentions. But I think that's about it. Everything else was mentioned. Yep.
For me, The Brood isn't on the list. Don't Torture a Duckling. The Dunwich Horror, which I love that movie. Yeah, A Bay of Blood, which is Mario Bava. I love that movie. Shock, which is another. I think that's Bava's last movie, actually. I think that's it for my list that wasn't on.
Didn't you have Let Sleeping Corpses Lie?
Oh yeah, Let Sleeping Corpses Lie was number 23. That's a 1974 zombie movie. It's Italian also. Has one of the biggest assholes in the world as the main character. I love it. But yeah, Seth, is there anything missing from your list? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see here. I know Martin made the honorable mentions. That was actually my top 10. I really love Martin. Such a great movie.
Don't let Amber know.
John Carpenter's "Someone's Watching Me." I think that was. I don't know if I would say it's the best of the '70s, but I had to put on my list. It's Carpenter. I think he does pretty good by like a Hitchcock type feel. Another one that's probably not even deserving to be on a top list, but Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. I primarily put that on there mostly just because of Peter Cushing as Victor Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. This is the only one from the 70s. I love what Hammer did with this version of the character, and his performance is awesome in all of them. Yeah, I mean, my list wasn't great. Oh, The Vault of Horror, which was the second.
Tales from the Crypt, yeah.
There's 3 of them, isn't there? Am I wrong?
Well, this is one of the original 2.
Hey, Count Yorga's on my list. It is. I can show you. It's on my list. Am I wrong, guys? Count Yorga was on my list.
I think the original one, definitely not Return.
No, it was Count Yorga Vampire. It was number 35 on my list. Sorry. So I love Count Yorga. And Blackula, it made my top 35 at first, but then I got to thinking about it, and Count Yorga's better. So don't watch Count Yorga stuff.
There were a couple I didn't get on the list. There were a couple on my list, I didn't get them on, like Phantom of the Paradise, The Abominable Dr. Fives.
Mm-hmm. I've never seen that. I've heard about that one, though.
Probably Vincent's best film of the 70s, I would say. Can't remember if I had any others. But I think overall, like I said, in that top 11, we kind of nailed the top films of the 70s, horror films, in my opinion. The Wicker Man is the only other one I could think of that is excluded. That could have made a perfect 12, maybe. But,
I think.
But then again, there's people who don't like The Wicker Man. But I think it's
that was me.
It's Christopher Lee's favorite film role he's ever done.
Probably because he got to dance around like an idiot in a wig.
Well, probably because he didn't just have to play some big ghoul kind of. He's like It's an interesting character, interesting story, and.
Well, I was going to say something. I already forgot what it was about the lists. Guys, what was I going to say?
You were going to say you got the graphics wrong. You actually meant to put Halloween as number 1.
No.
Yeah.
No, Halloween was my number 8. And there's a lot of good movies from I was going to say, what I said earlier is if we revisit this in a year after I've seen some of this, but I think this list will be completely different. Because, like I said, I do think The Wicker Man belongs in the top 25 after watching it again. And I hate to say this, but I don't like saying that people influence me, but I think my wife really influenced me quite a bit on the way I judge certain movies like that, because she hated it. And like The Neon Demon, for instance. But I'm going to rewatch it again by myself. I need to just watch stuff by myself. Anyway, that's our list. And as for now, we're sticking to it. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. We're going to do the 60s at some point, probably before the end of the year. Next week, we may not do this. I'm not sure if you guys are still game to do this, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation commentary. We can try to do something different if you guys want to do something different. We'll talk about it in the chat. Because I feel like, what were we thinking when we decided to do that?
That'll be fun.
It's going to be fun.
You think it'll be fun? Well, then we'll do it. We'll do it. We'll do it. It'll be, see, it's Alice Sweet Alice is another one that I have not seen. What's that other one with Donald Sutherland?
That was on my list. Don't Look Now.
That's another one. They're movies I have not seen in a long time, and I can't judge movies I have not seen.
I kind of forgot about Alice Sweet Alice.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in so long I can barely remember it. So otherwise, that probably would be on the list. So I think now my goal is to watch a bunch of movies I haven't seen from the 70s or I haven't seen in a long time. You know, thanks, Alex.
I was taking notes, from reading your guys' list, and I know Nate was trying to sell me on some of them, so I got a lot of catching up to do.
I think we all could do that. I would like to revisit this maybe next year. I don't think the 2000s or the 2010s or those need to be revisited, but this one for sure I feel like could be revisited and it would be completely different. Maybe not the top 10, but the 11 through 25 I think could be different. But anyway, Nate, thanks for hanging out as usual. We appreciate all the work you've done on helping get these lists combined together. Really do appreciate that. Seth, I appreciate you.
It's one of us does.
Yeah, right. And Jared, I love you. I want to wish everybody a great weekend and stay cool. It's fucking gross outside.
Yeah, it's pretty sticky here today.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Anyway, you all have a good evening, and we'll see you next Thursday. We're going to do the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation commentary. So, Kathy, if you've never been with us for a commentary, get your copy ready to go. We're going to hit play at the same time, and we're going to talk, laugh, and have fun.
We know everybody has that copy.
Right. And we got to make sure they're watching the right copy. So,
what
anyway,
are we doing? Theatrical?
Probably.
What are we doing? Okay.
Probably theatrical. I feel like that's the one everybody will have. So, get your copy ready. Stay inside and watch horror. Fucking Scott. Exactly. Stay inside and watch horror.
He knows.
He knows. Or go swimming. Anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you on Thursday. There we go. Oh,